Hey guys, Scary Stories here. I just wanted to put a quick note before the video begins, just to let you know that the audio for the main story was recorded a couple weeks ago, and when it was recorded, I was a little sick, so I might be a little bit quieter in the actual video, so my apologies for that. But I like the story anyways. I did really like it, so I thought it'd be fun to post anyways. And I don't know. I think maybe it goes with the vibe of the story. Just discovering a weird, creepy hidey hole in your house. It's early in the morning, you're still a little drowsy, haven't had your coffee yet, and you gotta call the cops, because, you discovered what you discovered. I'm not going to say what it is yet, because you got to watch the video, but yeah, so, a lot's happening, and you're trying to process it, but you're still kind of sleepy, so it's all a creative decision, we'll say. But, yeah, for reals anyways. I hope you don't mind that I sound a little sick in this one. With that out of the way, I hope you enjoy. This happened in 2013, when I was living in the city with two roommates. We're all women and go to school. I wrote everything down immediately after it happened, for the purposes of having, a record of every detail should it become important later. I wanted all the details because the police themselves didn't want to file a report about it, but I thought it could be important. I never ended up sharing it until now, having recently discovered this subreddit. This isn't a horror story, so much as it's maybe more of a story about stumbling on the aftermath of someone else's. But I can tell you that I was pretty spooked at the time. So, with minor edits for context and clarity, here is that account from my notes. I live in a pretty old house. It's at least 100 years old, which is typical of the area. But the inside appears to have been gutted and remodeled at some point in its history. Most of that translates to weirdly sized closets, but it also meant that there was no pre-designed place for the water heater to go. Putting it in the house would have sacrificed space in one of the closets, so they installed it and the heating system under the house in a crude, dirt-floored crawl space. This became relevant last month when a city utility worker needed to get to my hot water heater. The sole entrance to the crawl space is out back, under the little deck we share with the neighboring unit. It's a little wooden door that's padlocked shut. It had been padlocked since I moved in. I don't think I even knew it was there for the first couple of months. So, I called the rental company, and they sent a guy over to unlock it, but he didn't look inside. When the utility worker arrived sometime later, it was already getting dark. I thought it'd be best to go down there with her, just in case she needed me to hand her anything. I felt kind of bad that she was out after standard work hours, and about to crawl into a cramped, dirty, undoubtedly spidery space under my house. She opens the little door, shines her light in, and goes, "That's kind of creepy." Since she had just told me that she was used to crawl spaces and not scared of them at all, I started to get pretty uneasy. In the back of my mind, I was hoping that we didn't just discover a body. Not gonna lie, I have been low-key expecting to stumble upon one since I was like 5. With that in mind, what we did find was actually kind of underwhelming. Inside of the cramped space under the house, lit by the tech's flashlight, was kind of a sketchy camp setup. A sleeping bag on a stack of filthy foam camping mattresses, a suitcase spilling clothes out onto the dirt, a clothesline hung with yet more clothes, food and drink wrappers, and stacks of newspapers. She was surprisingly chill about it. I wanted her to get out immediately so that we could call the police. Not because I thought anybody was still there, but because I was worried that the camp under my house might constitute some sort of a crime scene. I was pretty confident that it must be old. We'd had a home invasion a couple months ago, so we'd been all really vigilant. I figured that we kept pretty irregular schedules and we all parked out back. We'd have seen a squatter coming and going. There was also no smell. Due to a couple stupid decisions earlier in my youth, I discovered people squatting in abandoned buildings before, and they always had the odor of stale urine. But the utility worker insisted that since we have the door open, she may as well go in and get the heater working again. I probably should have insisted, but she honestly didn't seem that disturbed, and I figured that she knew what she was doing. She found a little pole chain connected to a bare bulb and pulled it, which lit the whole place up in a weak yellow light, showing her the way to the appliance. It wasn't enough to light the whole crawl space, but it was enough that we could see that whoever had lived there had made a couple of shelves out of some milk crates. She fixed what she came to fix, and then sat with me until the cops came. I kind of expected them to tell me that what I was seeing had to be something else. But actually, they flat out refused to look in the crawl space. I suspect because it had started to rain at this point. They seemed to take my account at face value, but they didn't want to do anything about it. They just told me that it was my landlord's problem. Whatever. And it all kind of ends very anticlimactically. I called the rental agency and told them about it. They sent a crew out to throw out all the old stuff and re-secure the crawl space. I wasn't able to be there when they did it, but I asked them to find the most recent newspaper and give me the date so that I could get some kind of a timeline for when this person had been under the house. And they told me it was June of 2011, 2 years before we moved in. I was able to find out from the rental guy that the house was occupied at that time, but that was all I could find out. Oh, and I just remembered this absolute gem of a response the officer spouted. They told me, among other things, that if there wasn't a no trespassing sign on the door, it wasn't technically a crime. When it became clear I didn't believe that, because that's not how property works, they doubled down and told me that, actually, if the squatter's residence predates ours, then we were technically the ones trespassing, because, quote, we have some weird residency laws. By that point, I realized they were just kind of jerking me around, and they probably didn't want to bother writing up a report about the incident. But I did go to the campus police the next day, just in case the cleanup crew discovered some kind of contraband that might get blamed on us as the tenants or them as the employees. The officer I got basically confirmed that the cops we were dealing with were just not really wanting to do the paperwork. Thankfully, she gave me her card, and we haven't had any problems since. So, what'd you think of that one? I've recently watched an interesting video on the topic of people living in your house that you don't know live there. People that come out of the attic or come out of your closets when you're at work. They know your schedule, so they just wait around for you to leave, and then they come out, use the bathroom, eat your food. It's called frogging, I guess. I'm sure it was animals, but it reminds me of the time I heard what sounded like footsteps in my attic. Just a couple of steps, nothing, traumatic or anything like that. But yeah, I'll leave it there for now. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to give it a like. Maybe subscribe if you haven't already. And, yeah. I hope you're doing well, and I hope you're taking care of yourself. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.